Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. 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 Gauri Nandana Kaya Vadana. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Gauri Nandana Kaya Vadana. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye.
Welcome to our final session inside the Perimenopause Reset. I hope you're up well. Today is all about nourishing foods and supplements and things that we can do to support ourselves from the inside in this season, our hormonal harmony. And I just wanted to recap on the last couple of days. I've had a few questions come through on email and DMs, so I'm going to answer those at the end of today's session. Some really great questions about acheness and stiff joints and HRT. So I really want to dive into that and take a moment to honor those questions and answer those. The first day we went through what's actually going on in the body, the system, the hormones, what's going on through the lens of Ayurveda. Yesterday we looked predominantly at movement, weight bearing, that sort of thing, like moving our body. And today, as I said, it's going to be all about nourishing. So if you've got any questions, am I recording? Yeah. I just had to double check then. I couldn't remember. Perimenopause brain. Excuse me. Let me just turn my phone on to work mode so I don't get messages through. Okay. Oh, it's not working. What? My phone does that weird thing. Okay, work. Where I can't, the screen won't work. Anyway, so today today's probably my favorite topic. I love food and I love nourishing from within using food. And I'm going to give you some foods that you can eat to support your hormones and perimenopause. But I just want to caveat to it is no one size fits all. It is very much a depends basis. So it really depends on a lot of things for you. So go through and you'll have time at the end to ask any specific questions that you might have that are a bit more personalized to you, or you can shoot me an email or DM afterwards if something comes to you afterwards, or if you're watching the recording. I know quite a lot of you have been watching the recordings, which is great. And I can see there is lots of hits on the journal. So I hope everybody's enjoying that beautiful journal. I would recommend going to the pages, just working through those pages. I'm going to bring it up actually, just quickly, if you haven't seen it. Where is it? Oh, now my computer's doing something weird. Anyway, maybe I won't bring it up. So working through those pages, we've got spaces there that you can jot down your intentions, your goals, any thoughts. You can look at it and sort of assess where life's not feeling quite right and balanced. And it's a really beautiful tool for you to help work through this and beyond these 3 days. So moving into just, afterwards as well. So let's get started first with just a bit of a grounding and an orientation and acknowledgement. So just take a moment to close down the eyes if that feels comfortable for you. And just start to focus gently on your breath coming in through your nose And out through your nose. Taking a moment to arrive, knowing there's nowhere else you need to be except right here, right now. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the jaw, finding yourself 10% more comfort and ease. Placing your hands gently in your lap, on your knees, wherever feels comfortable for you. Noticing how you feel in this moment. Is there any tension that needs softening? Any stress that needs dissipating? Use these next few moments to just sink into that. Breathe beautiful life force into those areas. I'd like to take a moment now to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, where I live and work and play, which is the Worimi people. I bow to their wisdom, their care for country, their stories and ceremonies, ancient and alive. May we walk gently in right relationship. I'd also like to take a moment to honour and pay reverence to the golden thread of teachers and teachings, those that have come before us and those yet to come. I bow to the lineages of Ayurveda and yoga, to the rishis, sages, mothers, rebels, mystics and healers who pass down this wisdom through breath, silence, sadhana and service. May their blessings flow through us today. And I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge our red thread, the women in our own ancestral line, the ones that have come before us and the ones that will come after us. For those women and children, those young girls that we are now here doing the work to heal ourselves, we heal our ancestors and we heal our children. The women in our families that have been the life givers, the nurturers, the healers, the matriarchs. And when you're ready, you can gently come back and open your eyes. And we will get stuck into the content. As usual, I'm going to pull up my notes so I don't go off on tangents. Anyone that knows me, Trudy will know. She's been in my programs and courses and memberships for a long time. We've worked together, and here she knows I do go off on tangents sometimes, but I'm learning to use notes and quite detailed notes these days. So supporting estrogen balance and hormonal harmony through beautiful nutrition. As you know, Ayurveda sees food as medicine, and Ayurveda treats us as a whole being, whether we're physically, spiritually, and emotionally. It's not just the physical. We're going to look at some beautiful medicine for our bodies that can really support us in our hormonal harmony. Okay, so estrogen, as we've established over the last couple of days, naturally declines, moves around, shifts. So we can nourish our body with foods that can really support this hormonal equilibrium and a gentle detoxification. So we are always working towards stoking our agni, our digestive fire. And we believe Ayurveda teaches us that we are always working to digest our food, and then that's going to help all the nutrients and the vitamins and everything get to where it needs to go, the oils to lubricate and give us juiciness, and all the different things. So really help to penetrate through the dhatus, the tissues, the layers of our body, okay, to give us that beautiful vitality and to support robust immunity, to build ojas. So ojas is our immunity, it's our vitality, it's our juiciness, and this does decline in perimenopause and menopause as we age. It naturally declines, and there's so much that we can be doing to support that and to build that. So your daily rituals, as in your meditation practice, your walks in nature, your pranayamas, so breath work, your relationships, what you consume, whether it's shows that you watch, social media accounts that you follow, books that you read, all of this is either contributing or taking away from our ojas and our digestive fire. So Ayurveda views even the things that we're taking in through our eyes and our ears and our mouth, that all affects our digestion. So this is where our rituals and habits and daily habits really support this harmony and bringing this balance and finding this, from more modern medical term, homeostasis in our body, okay? And yes, it's a little bit of extra work and a little bit of know-how, but you can definitely do it, and you can definitely find what works really well for you and your body as well. So with the, I'm just going to, it's okay, check that there. So that's why, Ayurveda is, all about this, this balancing act, okay? It's about this harmony and finding this place with us emotionally, spiritually, energetically, and physically, to reach this sort of blissful state and live a life of joy. And that's what Ayurveda is. It's about a life well lived, or it's basically what it translates to, a life well lived or living life well. It's the science of Ayurveda, and it goes back thousands and thousands of years in India. Before India was colonized by the English, like, Ayurveda was their main medical health system. It's what they did. And then modern medicine came in and whatnot, and things have shifted and changes, but it stood true. And when you visit India, you see there's big Ayurvedic hospitals and medical centers and this and that. Like, it's so normal there. And it's a lot of the time an Ayurvedic doctor will do modern science, medical certificate as well, become a doctor in modern science as well as Ayurveda, and then they beautifully blend the two, which I think is really, really cool for our modern world. So they will always look at you as a person first. They'll look at what you're like. If you've been to an Ayurvedic doctor, you get a million questions about different random things, and you're like, why is that important? But it all is really, it all goes hand in hand. So that's why food is so beautifully nourishing and balancing for us. And we can look at the different makeups of different foods that will help to support really specifically these hormonal balances. So if we look at phytoestrogen rich foods, so this is plant-based estrogen support. These can help buffer the effects of estrogen decline in the body. So things like flax seeds and chia seeds, these are high in lignans and support estrogen balance and gut health. So they also have flax seeds and chia seeds also have lots of good healthy fats and omegas in them as well. So they make a really good choice. Sesame seeds. So sesame seeds are rich in calcium and magnesium. So this is really crucial for our bone health. So this is crucial for our bone health. We've got, things you can sprinkle these sesame seeds. Like, I make a beautiful meal for our family, which is a chicken and egg donburi, and it's with chicken bone broth, which is another really great source of support for us in perimenopause if you eat meat and eat bone broths. We have with a little bit of brown rice, chicken broth, bone broth, a little bit of chicken, some beautiful eggs from our chickens, and we sprinkle some sesame seeds on top of that. So you can sprinkle sesame seeds everywhere. You can pop sesame seeds like on beautiful piece of whole grain toast with banana and some almond butter and some sesame seeds. You can even get sesame butter, which is really great. Tahini is another good source of this calcium and magnesium that's going to really support. So adding all these little things will really help. And we're looking at organic soy products like tempeh, miso, tofu. These can really support if you're a vegetarian as well and don't like to eat meat, then these are a great added protein and can really support there as a phytoestrogen rich food. Lentils and chickpeas are really great. These are also a higher in protein and they also help to stabilize blood sugar. So these will, we're always, as we're looking at this cortisol and what they're calling this insulin resistance, that, you know, we've got this, and while we're putting on weight around the tummy and all the things, having lentils and chickpeas in your diet can actually really help to stabilize your blood sugar levels. Add some cinnamon to that and it's a powerhouse. So I always add cinnamon to my curries. I do like a chickpea curry, I do like a dal with my lentils, and I'm adding spices, and that's all helping with that blood sugar as well. So lentils and chickpeas are a really great addition. You can even add those, even if you do eat, it's winter now here in Australia. So we've got this time of year, well, it's not winter yet, but we're coming into winter, where you can cook, we cook lots of stews. So cooking a beautiful slow cooked lamb shank or slow cooked chicken or something like that, you can add some lentils, add some chickpeas into it, add them to your soups. I made this week a big pot of my pumpkin soup, which I add red lentils to. So it adds that extra bit of protein. It helps to stabilize my blood sugar. I'm getting lots of fiber. It's warming, it's grounding. It's really good for soothing and calming vata, which is movement. So what you want to be doing is as having those foods that really soothe and calm vata, and keeping foods that are easy to digest, so soups and things are easy to digest. One note with lentils and chickpeas is I tend to soak them before I cook them, because that just helps them a little bit to digest in the system, especially if you know that you suffer a bit from legumes. That's going to really help you. So healthy fats and hormone production. So hormones are made from fat. So incorporating the right sources is essential. Ghee is wonderful. So ghee is clarified butter and we use it a lot. Like ghee is liquid gold in Ayurveda and it goes into everything. If you're having a stressful moment, a stressful time, ghee will help. If you're finding your skin is a bit dry, cook with ghee. If you're finding that you've got achy joints and bones, cook with a bit of ghee. You can actually use ghee on your body as a moisturizer, as an oil as well in the joints. It's going to really help. A lot of beautiful Ayurvedic massage oils will actually have ghee in them, and some of their skincare, their beautiful skin oils have ghee in them as well. I bought one in India this year. It's got gold flecks in it. It's got ghee. It's got beautiful raw milk. So these are animal products that have been used for thousands of years in Ayurveda, from raw sources, unpasteurized, you know, grass-fed, like really beautiful, natural. You don't want the sort of you don't want to source it from industrialized farming sources. You really want to invest in a good quality ghee. So you can make your own ghee. It's basically boiling the water, not the water, the butter. Like you slowly cook the milk solids out of the butter and you're left with this beautiful clear golden liquid, which then solidifies, and you use it that way as a fat in your cooking or in your body. So it sort of solidifies a bit like coconut oil does. So it's really wonderful. Or so when I make my ghee, I make it with in my Thermomix. So I've got a Thermomix and it's got a ghee function and it just makes it. Or you can make it on the stove top, but you've just got to keep your eye on it. So there's lots of recipes and ways to do it out there on YouTube. You can have a bit of a look about making ghee if you want to make it yourself, because you can buy cheaper, a beautiful organic butter unsalted butter is much cheaper to buy a couple of blocks of those for like $4 each, $5 each, as opposed to spending $30 for 250 grams or 500 grams of ghee. So yeah, there's definitely a payoff there if you've got the time and the ability to make ghee yourself. Coconut oil is is similar. It's got a different makeup, but if you're a vegan and you don't like to eat animal products, I would go for coconut oil. But if you're not, always choose ghee. Ghee is so much better. It's much juicier, especially for us in perimenopause. Coconut oil is great, but it can be a little bit on the skin. It's a bit dry. It's a dryish kind of oil. Whereas ghee is much juicier. Using olive oil and avocados in your diet as well. A lot of us in the West, we're so used to olive oil, we're so used to avocados these days. We've got them in abundance in Australia. And they're both very anti-inflammatory, and they've also got benefits for the skin. Again, it's lubricating, it's oil, got some beautiful benefits for the skin, and they are hormonally, they're going to help to balance your hormones. The thing here is with your hormones, the more foods that are high in good fats and oils, the better. That your hormones are going to really respond well to these foods, and we need to up our fat intake in perimenopause and menopause, because for so long we've been told to count calories, eat low fat, do this, do that, and it's leaving us really undernourished. So it's really important that we don't fear our fats, that we actually really embrace them and do cook with them. So I used to cook with a teaspoon of ghee. Now I cook with like a tablespoon of ghee, or sometimes 2 tablespoons of ghee in my soups. And when the soups cool down, little bits of ghee pop around on the top. That's what you want to see. You want to have a good whack of it in your cooking. The same with olive oil. Really quick, easy meal is a beautiful wholemeal or spelt pasta with olive oil and some cherry tomatoes lightly cooked and some salt and basil thrown through. Ayurvedic cooking doesn't have to be all lentils and beans and curries and all of those things. We can apply these principles to our favorite foods and just make some slight tweaks here and there. Another thing that you can sort of tweak is adding nuts to salads. If you're eating salads, I would recommend that you have warm cooked salads, especially in this season of life and coming into the winter months. So roast sweet potatoes and pumpkins and carrots with a little bit of baby spinach, a drizzle of olive oil, some avocado, and sprinkle some nuts like almonds, walnuts, and Brazil nuts. So those ones that are quite oily. And if you can get them raw, is better. And these nuts will really nourish your nervous system. Pepitas and chia seeds are great. Pepitas they're a seed, they're not a nut, but they're a very high anti-inflammatory seed that you can sprinkle on salads or put into smoothies. And they're also really great for brain function as well. So they're supporting your brain function, especially if you're a vegetarian. And you're not getting meat, because the amino acids and all the different fats and whatnot without getting too technical in all those different things in meats, are feeding the brain and the nervous system as well. The similar thing with nuts, you're doing it. So nut butters are great on toast, or even nut butters on a salad. Like, get really creative about how you're using the nuts. If you're not eating meat, I'd be definitely adding nuts to nearly all your meals. Nuts and seeds are going to be your best friend. So another big question that I get a lot is about bloating and a sluggish metabolism, and just feeling this bloating and this air. If you're feeling bloated and like you've got air, like you've got wind and that sort of thing, it means that you've got a bit of a vata imbalance in your tummy. And those foods that you're eating, that salad for lunch and those crackers with hummus and those sorts of dry, raw foods, are going to be contributing to this vata imbalance in the gut and this air. Okay, and maybe you're not going to the toilet every day. We should be pooing every morning. We should be evacuating and feeling light and moving on with our day. It sounds really gross, but often look back in the toilet and I'll go, yeah, that's a good poo. It's a good poo day. And I think, it's really noticeable when I'm in my routine, I'm eating all my, beautiful foods, I'm feeling grounded, I'm feeling good, I have good poos. But as soon as I start to travel a lot, or I get a bit stressed, or I've been, eating out a lot, which happens with, when we go away with our parents, and to my parents' house is what I'm thinking about recently. When I hurt my nose and broke my nose and did all of that, I went and stayed with my mum and dad. And, my mum cooks a lot of meat, like every meal, it is a meat, meal. And it's not that meat's, if you eat meat, that's fine. And I do eat meat, but I don't eat a lot of meat. Being a pitta, meat for me is quite heating and can be quite inflammatory. So I only eat it in certain ways, and I only eat it a few times a week. Whereas my mum's like a steak and sausages and veggies and all of those sorts of things. And it was just all a bit too much. It was lovely to be cooked for. And I ate with true joy, and with gratitude. But I definitely was happy to get home and just get some balance back after doing all of that. And what did you say there, Trudy? I just noticed you popped a comment. There's a couple of comments there when we're talking about poo. Karen's saying she's good. She has chia every morning. Perfect. The difference between ghee, I think I answered that for you, Karen. Ghee is butter, but it's clarified. It's the milk fats, the milk solids that have been taken out. And Trudy tells John, her husband, that was a healthy poo. I love it. And it's good to keep an eye. If you're a parent, it's good to keep an eye on your children's poo as well, because you can tell how well their digestive systems going and how healthy they are by their poo. Okay, so I know that when my boys, like, I watch them one after, it's like a single file to the toilet every morning. Everyone's off to do their poo, and then sometimes the kids want to do a poo at like just before they go to bed, which I think is quite bizarre. But children are a little bit different to adults. Their whole system's very it's very different. And okay, so supporting the metabolism. So this is where we prioritize our agni. So this is where, if we are, there's all these things about perimenopause, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, but it really all comes back to this one simple rule: is if we are prioritizing our digestive fire, our agni, we will maintain balance. Okay. And the best way to do that is to eat, as I just said, easy digestible foods, foods that are warm, foods that are grounding, foods that are cooked or lightly cooked. Okay. And if you are having digestive issues, steer clear of raw foods, raw fruit, raw vegetables, raw fish, sushi, that sort of thing. And really focus for a little while on having all your foods cooked and really easy to digest. And I recommend a month that you steer clear of if you're having a lot of problems. And this is where we can work. If you, come along and join us in the Marigold membership and get a one-to-one with me, or a couple of one-to-ones with me, we can work quite closely on a specific plan to support this. But as a general rule, we're looking at vegetables that are cooked, and some of the best vegetables for us at the moment are carrots, sweet potatoes, zucchini, beetroots, asparagus. So these all support good digestive fire, good gut health. They support to detoxify, particularly beetroots. They are great at detoxifying. And things like root vegetables, like sweet potatoes, even turnips and swedes, anything that's grown in the ground is pretty much a big tick from Ayurveda, because we're wanting to keep grounded all the time. We wanted to keep, warm. So anything that's kind of root vegetables that's grown in the ground, any of those, leafy greens are going to be amazing for your detoxification, because what's happening as well in the liver through perimenopause, because our hormones are fluctuating, that's where we process all those extra hormones. So we're processing, if we've got too much estrogen or this or that, we're processing them through our liver. We're peeing them out. Okay, so we want to keep our liver really healthy. So that's another thing that we look at. Is one of the first things is like, how healthy is your liver? Are you detoxifying and getting enough of those detoxifying foods? And inside the perimenopause, inside Marigold membership, we do a seasonal cleanse, and we really focus on this detoxification of the liver. And I've got beautiful juices and foods and all sorts of things there to support that. So it's really, yeah, really great. So leafy greens will help with that. And they're probably the one rule to raw foods that I would suggest would be baby spinach. But even then, baby spinach, it's probably better to lightly cook it or stir it through a soup or a dal or something like that, because um, you know, if it is lightly cooked, it's better. But you can have it with some eggs. Eggs are a great source of protein as well, and good for us in this season, because you've got the whole egg. So not just the egg white or not just the egg yolk, you want the whole egg, because they work hand in hand together to give us this whole protein, and these vitamins and nutrients that help our brain function, that also support the nervous system and really help in that blood sugar levels and that cortisol stress hormone thing that's going on. So some scrambled eggs with some baby spinach put through, some fresh herbs like basil or thyme, or some spices like cumin or cardamom, even sprinkled on top with some sesame seeds, would make a really beautiful lunch or a breakfast. But the thing with eggs is they are a little bit harder to digest. So I would recommend scrambled eggs. That seems to be the most easiest way to digest your eggs, and have them before, like have them either breakfast or lunch. Breakfast, again, we're looking a little bit, we do want to kind of ease into our day and ease our digestive system into food. So lunchtime is probably the best time to eat eggs. In the evening, if you're having sleep problems, having a big heavy meal in the evening of protein with eggs and meat and all those different things in the evening will disrupt your sleep. It will affect your digestive system will be just working, and your liver will be working too hard through the night, and it can be the cause of sleep disruption. So there's lots of different things, this and that, and this all really depends on the individual, on what you're eating, what your habits are and whatnot. Fruit, if you're going to eat fruit, I really recommend, especially now because it's cooler, stewed apples and pears. This is a traditional ayurvedic remedy for regular elimination. So if you do struggle with going to the toilet every morning, I would recommend getting some stewed apples and pears, cooking it in a beautiful porridge. I've got a recipe inside the membership for prana porridge. I think I've also shared it on my social media in the past. So it's oats and it's beautiful. Some dates, you can pop some almonds in there, some stewed apples, some stewed pears, some cinnamon. You're going to regulate your blood sugars. You're going to help evacuate and eliminate any waste product, which we call ama in Ayurveda. It's this waste product that we're constantly trying to detoxify. And you might have heard of a term dinacharya, which is the morning routine, which we haven't dived a lot into in these sessions, but that's the goal of dinacharya as well. It's like to tongue scraping, dry body brushing, those practices are all designed to help remove ama from our system. So some other warming spices that are really great for this as well is ginger, cinnamon, cumin, fennel, and cardamom. These will all enhance your digestion. They'll help those blood sugar levels, and they'll also help with your circulation. So they'll help with your blood and pumping that blood through the body. So if you suffer with cold hands, cold feet, maybe get some pins and needles in your sleep, they're great spices to add to your meals to really help with that. Bone broth and miso soup. So both of these, so bone broth, if you're into bone broth, or if you're not a meat eater, miso soup will really help to heal the gut. There's also collagen in bone broth, and the minerals will really support you that are in miso soup. Those minerals will be great for your joints and also for your skin. but I really recommend if you are experiencing joint issues and, those dry skin or whatnot, a cup of bone broth is beautiful. It's a really beautiful afternoon pick me up. So, of an afternoon, I buy a jar of chicken bone broth from Nutri Organics, and I just make like a little bit of a cup of soup and have a sip on that in the afternoon, and have a little bit of tamari in it, and it's really yummy. So that's really lovely to get into that. You can also add bone broth to your soups, to your stews. You can add it to your dals, to your curries, whatever it is that you're cooking. You can add a bit of bone broth. It gives a little bit of flavor, a bit of body to the food, but it also supports and gets that extra bit of collagen and protein in. Now let's look at stable. I'm just going to check and see if there's any more chats. What do we got here? Karen's about the ghee. Why does bloating happen in perimenopause? I've never had it until now. It's because Karen, we are entering. It's a vata. So bloating comes from a vata constitution. It's a vata imbalance, and perimenopause is a vata season of life. So we are experiencing more movement, more dryness, more air, and that's happening if you're not eating the right foods or if you're not digesting your emotions and your thoughts. It can contribute to that vata imbalance, and that's what the bloating is. So you've always been vata and never been bloated before, because probably in your younger years you probably would have had more pitta. Okay, you could have had more pitta and you probably a little bit more balanced. And what happens is you can these fluctuating hormones and our ability, as we were talking in the last couple of days, to handle stress and the stress hormones going up and the sex hormones going down and all this happening is causing an imbalance in the system. So coming back and looking at number one, your rituals, your rest, and how you're handling stress and bringing that nervous system down, which I know you're very good at. It might be having a little bit of a look at what you're eating, because your metabolism is slowing down and your digestive fire slows down, so you're not burning through the food like you would have done in your younger years. So eating, say you have a salad every day for lunch with tuna and rice or whatever it is that you have for lunch. I'm not sure what you eat for, what your regular diet is, but that could be adding to the vata imbalance. So bringing in these cooked foods, warm foods, digestive spices like fennel. So a fennel tea in the morning can really help set you up for that bloating in the morning, because the fennel with a bit of warm water and sip on that through the morning can really help. Okay, so that makes sense. Yes, I have always had a fast metabolism and been thin. Yeah, so it's a natural process of it's naturally the aging process that you're experiencing. And being a vata for you, I would definitely keep an eye on it, because you're going to have more and more and more vata the older you get. So really coming in now, and you're in the right place, Karen, as well. You're in the right place learning about what foods can support this, what practices, and really bringing that vata back into balance. Great question. Thank you. So now we're looking at stabilizing blood sugar and energy. So blood sugar fluctuations can trigger fatigue, cravings, and mood swings. And I'll give you an example of this. For so long, and this is another example, Karen, I would have a coffee. First thing in the morning was the first thing I would do. I'd have my my water with my dawn water. I'd have that first. I tell a lie. I would have that first with my ginger and my cinnamon and whatnot. I'd have my dawn water, and then before I ate, I would have a coffee. So I had a fabulous coffee machine that I loved dearly. It was like my second husband. I love this coffee machine. And if my husband made me a coffee every morning, like he was in the good books for days, and it was what I just did. But what I noticed as I was starting to age and heading into this perimenopause, like I soon started to realize that I had to give that up. Okay, so I had to let go of coffee in the way that I was doing, the way that I was having coffee as it was, because there was two things happening for me. I was putting on weight, and I just could not I just couldn't shift this belly weight around the middle. And I'm still working on that now, but I kind of didn't put two and two together. And my mood swings were really, actually, there's three things. My pitta anger was really fiery, and I was angry at the kids, and I was always yelling and cranky, cranky pants. So weight gain, cranky pants, mood swings, and this afternoon fatigue where I had to lay down and have a sleep at 2 o'clock in the afternoon before the kids came home from school. I'd have to lay down and have a little nana nap. I'd just have like a little eyes shut, some days for 10 minutes, some days it was a little bit longer. But I'd have to literally put my feet up and get some rest. And what I learned was, when I started to, put two and two together, it was like, it's the caffeine in the morning that is destabilizing my blood sugar and causing these mood swings, this weight gain, and then this extreme fatigue in the afternoon. Because having coffee on an empty stomach before you eat anything, it just shoots up the blood sugar levels, and it just shoots up the adrenals, and the cortisol. Okay, so already I'm in perimenopause, my body's trying to work to balance these out. And it was just struggling big time. So there was, this is what was happening. So when I learned that didn't have to give up my coffee, but I did give it up after a cleanse. I gave up coffee for quite some time. I will now have a coffee if I'm socializing. If I've been for a walk with a girlfriend, we might grab a coffee afterwards. Sometimes I do a decaf, sometimes I don't. But I've always had breakfast before I have my coffee, or it might be after lunch, or I've got food. The moral to the story is I've got food in my tummy. I've had some balanced nutrition to really help regulate that, those fluctuating hormones. So that's what I really recommend. So this is where the food will really help to stabilize that. So protein-rich foods will really help to prevent energy crashes and stabilize your blood sugar. If you're experiencing that, I'd recommend looking at adding a little bit more protein into your day. Things like I said before, eggs and poultry and fish and lentils and tempeh, quinoa, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, goat's cheese. All of these things are quite high in protein. Look at slow burning carbs that really prevent the sugar spikes and crashes. So if you've been doing, like I for years I used to eat a lot of brown rice. I moved away from brown rice. It can be a little bit harder to digest, but it's more of a whole food. And if you're like, for you, for example, Karen, you're experiencing a Vata imbalance in your gut, in your digestive system, with lots of bloating and whatnot, stick to a basmati or a jasmine rice. But if you're not experiencing that so much, you can move to a brown rice or a quinoa. Again, sweet potatoes play a really big part in this. Beets and steel cut oats are really great. So oats in the morning for breakfast with your apples, which is like your sugary good sugar, but you've also got that high fiber that's going to help you. It's all kind of a balancing act. So in Ayurveda, there's no one food or one food this or not that. It's all a bit of a balancing act, and it's all individual depending on where you've got those imbalances and what's going on in your body. So really listening to your body as to what works well for you. The next point is the magnesium rich foods. So these are going to help support sleep and your stress resilience. So we know that our stress resilience is like down because our cortisol's up and our adrenaline, everything's going up, like this. So let's have a look at adding more dark leafy greens. As I said, pumpkin seeds or pepita seeds, a dark chocolate. If you can get a beautiful organic dark chocolate and have a little bit of that, that's going to help with your sugar cravings. And it's also rich in magnesium. Or a cacao. If you're not having too many digestive issues, a cacao, like a ceremonial cacao, is okay, but not too much, because it is a medicinal type food. You don't want to have it as an everyday food, but it will offer some magnesium into the body. Almonds and bananas are really great here as well. I make a beautiful muffin for my kids, which is almond flour. We've got some berries in it. We've got some chia seeds in it. I use ghee in the muffin as well. and they love it, and they're having like a blueberry muffin, but we're all having it as a beautiful, we can put, sometimes I put pepita seeds in it as well, and we're getting a really good whole food that's kind of covering all bases for energy, blood sugar, magnesium, and good fats in there as well. So thinking about some of those ways that you can incorporate into planning a little bit ahead, baking some muffins, having them to grab and go for breakfast or for your afternoon tea. And this time in perimenopause as well, if you are feeling an afternoon slump, like generally Ayurveda says don't snack, but I would suggest that in perimenopause, if you are experiencing, like I was, this afternoon slump, either a cup of bone broth in the afternoon, and you could add a nice whole grain type bread to it, like a chapati, or like a nice flat bread that's been spelt, or some sort of whole grain to go with it, will really support you and give you that little bit that you need. Or a muffin like I was talking about, you can have that's got all those different elements. Is working really, really well. Before I jump into these supplements and herbs, I'm dropping the coffee too and switching to cacao. Bought some of the good stuff and it's lovely. Yeah, beautiful. So you can definitely swap out to the cacao, but make sure, Karen, as well, that you're not having it on an empty stomach, because that is going to have exactly the same effect as your coffee. It's a stimulant, so cacao is still a stimulant, and Ayurveda generally says no to stimulants unless you're a kapha constitution, which needs a little bit of a kick up the bum every now and then. But I would definitely think about only making it. There's different levels that you can make your cacao, and I would make it the weakest that you can make it. You don't have it very strong. Okay, fab. So it's more like a hot chocolate rather than a ceremonial cacao. The other option here, if you're finding that, because it could be contributing to your bloating and your vata imbalance in your digestive system as well, and in your tummy. So just pay close attention to that, Karen. I hate to tell you that it could actually be contributing to that. So pay close attention, make sure you're having it, like you say, you're having it weak. But if you do find that you're still experiencing, even though you're eating well and whatnot, you're still experiencing this bloating, it could be the switch to the cacao. So this is where diving into individual people makes such a big difference. And it's not all one size, and everything depends. It all just depends on what else is going on. The other thing that you could do, Karen, is switch it out and have a chai. So that's what I did. Now, chai will still, like a tea, like a spiced masala chai. There's a really beautiful one that I have, which is black tea, and it's got all the spices in it. So you still kind of get a bit of a caffeine hit. For us caffeine addicts, it can be a really good ease off. But the caffeine in tea does not have the same effect on the body as what caffeine, like what coffee has on the body. It's a different effect because it's a different makeup. So I've got one, what's it called? I'll share it with you with the notes. I'll make a note. It's really lovely. One of my Ayurveda teachers gifted it to me. You make your own masala chai, beautiful. And it's really gorgeous. And you can definitely just make your own with the spices too. Love that. So yeah, have a little play around with that, Karen, and just do some testing with that bloating in the tummy, and maybe just have the masala chai for a week and see if the bloating goes away, and then maybe just have your cacao a couple of times a week or something like that, and just notice how you feel after you drink the cacao, in the hours after you drink it. Okay, so herbal tonic and support for perimenopause. So this is, again, not one size fits all, and I always recommend that we look at our rituals, our lifestyle, and our food and nutrition and what we're consuming in our eyes, ears, and mouth. So with the whole person, before we start to add too many supplements or herbs. But there are some really beautiful herbs in Ayurveda that are gentle and that work as adaptogenics to the body, to what you're needing. Okay, so for example, for me, after I've broken my nose and got this big cut and stitches and everything, so I have been adding some of these beautiful plant and herbal allies to my life a little bit more than what I would normally do. Been using ashwagandha because it helps to reduce stress. It helps to process trauma in the body and shock, and supports the nervous system. So my slip and fall was quite scary, and the ride to the hospital and all the things. So it wasn't a very nice experience for me. So I've been really focusing on supporting that for myself. I've also been using Triphala, and Triphala is a great one. This will be a wonderful for that Vata imbalance too, Karen, is Triphala, because it aids digestion. It also adds a gentle detoxification. And the beautiful thing about Triphala is it also heals any gut issues. So it can heal the lining of your gut and really support that digestive system. If you've noticed any mucus in your poo, or you're having trouble pooing, or you're pooing too much, it's runny, any of those problems that you're finding with your digestion, and you're working on your diet and supporting it, adding Triphala at least for a month. And my Ayurvedic doctor says you need to take it for at least a month to get any benefits from it, and for it to actually, really start to work well with your body and start to see those long-term effects. So we don't tend to take things all the time in Ayurveda. We will take things when we need to support certain things. Okay. Now there's Shatavari as well, which is a beautiful herb for women. And this is going to be one that will be great for anyone that's experiencing the really, really heightened symptoms. Okay. I would recommend Shatavari because it's going to help to bring that hormonal balance. So if you've been talking to, because we've got a question later about HRT, talking to a doctor, they want them to go on HRT, I'd recommend that you try Shatavari and a few of these other things first before you go down that route, because you'll quite often find that paired with wild yam cream, which is what I did when I was experiencing really heightened symptoms and was, told to do this and do that, take this HRT and whatnot. Though they were the two things that really helped me bring that back into balance. And now I don't need to take Shatavari, and I don't need to use my wild yam cream, because I've gotten things back into balance over a period of time. Okay, so when you need it, you do it, and when you don't need it, it's not just an everyday thing. Turmeric, so those of us experiencing aches and pains and joints quite inflammatory, turmeric is a beautifully anti-inflammatory. It supports a liver detox, great for your joint health. This other one, which we'll talk a bit more about, is a joint health, a joint support. So it's from Banyan, what are they called? Banyan Botanicals, an Ayurvedic herb blend. This is a really great one that my Ayurvedic doctor had recommended for me when I was experiencing a lot of pain in my hip for my osteoarthritis that I have in my hips, and I don't take this anymore. There's literally one left in there. So I took that for a few months, and with other things, things have come back into balance for me. So if that's what you can do if you're experiencing it. Frankincense essential oil is another great one, which is not necessarily Ayurvedic herb, but it's a resin and used a lot through Ayurveda. Frankincense is great for anti-inflammatory and just anything really. It's another one of those beautiful adaptogenics. Fennel and ginger tea is so good for bloating and just to support a good, clean agni and digestive fire. It's great for stoking the fire. Things to let go of are stimulants like coffee and cacao and wine, alcohol. There was something else I was going to say there. Lots of processed sugar. All of these things are going to really clunk up your digestive system and put your digestive fire out. Oh, water. Drinking, I saw someone on Instagram today saying, making a joke, I'll drink 4 liters of water a day. And I'm like, no, we don't have to drink 4 liters of water today. This idea that we have to gulp these massive big Frank Green jugs of water, boom, 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 to stay hydrated is completely wrong. You're actually having a counterproductive effect on your Agni fire. All that water, you're putting the fire out, especially if it's ice cold or if it's cold water, even worse. So let go of that idea that you have to hydrate through water. We're getting our hydration through the foods that we eat, through warm, beautiful spiced teas like your fennel and ginger, any herbal tea that you have, like a Tulsi tea or a even a green tea. They're going to add hydration to your diet. So you don't, if you're having 3 cups of herbal tea a day, you know, you're doing pretty well for your hydration. Plus you're having your fruits and vegetables and soups and stews, and, you know, you're getting hydration from your food as well. So having a lot of water is definitely going to really dampen that fire. Really gone over time today because there's just so much to talk about when it comes to food. So I want to talk now. I'm going to check for the questions. Trudy's been having her herbal teas and getting to the end of the day thinking, I haven't had enough water in the day. Yes, herbal teas are good. Good, especially for they're warm. They're actually just warm water, and warm herbal teas are supporting your digestive system to push everything through. So, because a lot of the times I see women and they're struggling with pooing every day, but they're drinking. I'm drinking 3 liters of water a day. I should be hydrated, but you're actually having the opposite effect. Okay. And once they start to integrate warm water, so in the ashram that I was in January in India, they had a water station and it was just warm water. So you could go with your drink bottle and fill your drink bottle up with warm water, because that's the best thing. It's more at your body temperature and it's going to really help to move the everything through the body. So herbal teas are a great option, especially, you know, it's a bit boring drinking just plain old water every day. So now I want to talk to this question of that, and I'll read the question out. Where is it? I keep being told HRT is a game changer. My understanding of what you're saying is by embracing the season and truly listening and working with it is to counter the big pharma HRT route. Absolutely. Allow the natural shifts and the hormones. So this is where there's a big caveat to this. It's like it really depends on the individual. So there's a lot of things that will depend on whether you go down this HRT route. There is not one size fits all. And inside our Marigold membership, I do on a quarterly basis, and all the recordings are there to catch up with as well. I do a perimenopause symptom charting session. So what we do is we work through a charting system and we look at our symptoms and those signs, and we categorize them into Pitta, Vata, and Kapha, into the 3 constitutions. So we're always, as you know, trying to maintain this balance. And what this charting will do, it really helps you to identify where your imbalance is. So for example, Karen's talking about her bloating in her tummy, which is a Vata imbalance. So we can then start to look at bringing some balance and treating that with different ways. Okay. And we work out a plan for you. What we're treating predominantly in perimenopause and menopause is Vata. So we treat that first, and we look at these different Vata balancing or Vata pacifying rituals, foods, practices, exercise, whatever it might be. And we map out a bit of a plan for that. And then we look at that second one. It could be a Pitta. Generally, a lot of the time for women in perimenopause, it's Pitta, it's heat, it's fire, it's hot flashes, it's anger, it's sleepless nights. So then we're treating Pitta. And then what we're doing is we're bringing these pacifying rituals and habits and nutrition and medicine into the mix. And we're looking at over a month or 2 or 3, we're looking at really balancing out these imbalances and bringing harmony back. And then what we can do, if the symptoms, and depending on what the symptoms are and the person and their lifestyle and where they're at, we will really look at if they're really heightened and uncomfortable and not, not helping, like life is just really hard to manage, and that happens, and don't get me wrong, like that definitely happens. We look at introducing some of those shatavari, the wild yam cream, some ashwagandha, some of those herbal allies, and we can introduce those to help bring a quicker fix to those symptoms and bring that balance back in. So yeah, so it really does depend, and I truly believe, because I've done it and I've seen so many women do it, and I know that it can be done through the studies that I've done, and just being deep in this world, I know that we can naturally support our hormones to find their true north and find their harmony and their balance, and not have to go down that HRT route. Now, that is, in my opinion, it's very much the modern medicalized system. We pop a pill, we put a patch on, we're fixed, we're better. But it's easy. Okay, it's really the easy way. It's hard. It's not easy to know what foods to eat, or to know what vitamin supplements to take, or to know what practices are going to serve you. And that's where working with someone like myself can really help guide you along that path and help find and identify. Like I say, we ask a million questions, and we can help you to really find what works, is what going to work for you. So it can be hard, and that's where a lot of women are tempted to take the HRT, and they think that it's the only thing that's going to work. But we do need to come back to this essence of our body is really wise and really smart, and it knows what it's doing. And these are all signs and signals that it needs a little bit more from us. So to answer that question, yes, she is correct in saying that, we can go down a path that does not require big pharma and doesn't require more drugs, more synthetic hormones, and all the things that disempower women and throw our bodies out of whack. We can bring our body back into balance and find a really natural way to get things back on track. Yeah, so that's my long answer to that question. And it really does depend on each individual. I wouldn't like to give a blanket broad information, but that's just a generalized answer, and it would definitely depend on the plan, would depend on the actual individual, which we can work through together. Another question I got a couple of these questions actually. A lot of you are experiencing lots of joint pain and aches, particularly when waking up in the morning or when getting up from sitting down for too long. Like, it's like all of a sudden I'm like getting up and I'm creaking and I'm like an old lady. This is a sign of inflammation in the body, which is pitta. So pitta is heat, it's fire, it's inflammation in its, it can be good, can be bad. It shows up in our joints, osteoarthritis, arthritis, strained muscles, overworked muscles. These are all pitta, and are all showing up in pitta. So what we would do there is we would treat pitta, and we would look at foods and nutrition that are cooling. So we want to cool down the pitta, and we also want to look at supporting our joint health and our function. So we would look at yoga and mobility practices that help those particular, wherever the aches and joints and pains are. So you would want to incorporate some of that into your day, some mindful movement to support that. Also foods like collagen, the elasticity, those foods with lots of adding oils, an Abhyanga massage, a regular Abhyanga massage, this essential oil, this massage oil, this one here, Mahai Narayan, is an incredible ayurvedic massage oil for your muscle joints. So you can grab some of this, warm it up. I pop it in a bowl of hot water. I warm it up, and I give myself, sometimes I'll do a full body massage, or if I'm just feeling particular achy in my hips or my knees or my elbows, I will just focus on those areas and give myself a quick warm massage before my shower, because you're doing it before the shower because the oil will actually penetrate into your joints and make a really big difference. And I had an Ayurvedic doctor probably 15 years ago tell me, she told me to oil my joints. She said, oil your joints, you'll thank me when you're an old lady. And I was like, oil your joints? Anyway, she was so right, because it makes a big difference. Oiling your joints, it's like, it's like the Tin Man. We've got to get those oils and whatnot in there. Add lots of oils to your diet. But again, each individual will have individual needs. And it could just be the bed. It could just be that you're working too hard, but we need to look at where we can make some shifts and changes for those joints. And this joint supplement is great for it. Taking omegas and those sorts of oils in your body will really help as well. But we're looking to treat pitta, we're looking to treat inflammation, removing alcohol, removing coffee, removing lots of red meat from your diet, anything that's inflammatory. We look at removing that stuff and then adding really supportive, juicy foods as well. So they were the two main questions that I had. There was quite a couple. There was a couple about HRT, and there was a couple about those aches and pains. And now I'm talking about my hip. I'm feeling my hip feel a bit funny now. That I wanted to answer. So is there any more questions before we wrap up? Or is everyone pretty good? Pretty good. So if you're watching the recording and you have a question, please let me know. Shoot me a DM, send me an email, and I will happily help you and answer that. And then I will get this recording out, and the notes from today, I'll get those probably up tonight sometime or tomorrow morning. And we have officially opened the doors to Marigold, as I've been talking about over the last few days. This is a membership where you really get to work closely with myself. There are other women in the membership. We are focused on this season of life. So really supporting you in this area is my absolute passion. And it's what I do all my study and all my, whatnot on. We're looking at aging gracefully and really supporting ourselves in that way. And we have a whole library of wonderful things that you can go back on. The month of June, we're focusing on our red thread and our lineage of women, and that is going to be really incredible. So we've got a session around that. We're going to do another perimenopause charting session. As I said, I do these on a regular basis, the same with the cleanse, because they're things that we need to regularly do just to check in with our body. So we'll be doing a perimenopause charting session, which will be fabulous, especially if you come in now and you're joining new. We'll be able to clear the slate, be able to get a really great picture of where you're at, and then develop a plan. You get, as a bonus, you'll get a one-to-one with me where we can work quite closely on that plan. I can be your cheerleader. I can hold you accountable. I'm here to answer questions. I'm available for you to message me and ask questions. And we have a really beautiful guided meditation in June. And what else is we going to do? Anyway, there's about 3 or 4 sessions in June. So usually each month I do around 3 or 4 sessions with a particular theme. We've got the different pillars. So it's always along those pillars of the Marigold membership. And it's only $29 a month, which is like less than a cup of coffee a day. I think I paid $7 something for a coffee late recently, which was absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, it's a monthly membership, and I would really love for you to come join us. Oh, and you get the bonus of the Sacred Radiance course in there as well, which is a course that we talk a lot about the skin and how we can really have beautiful, glowing skin into our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. So thank you so much. You'll hear from me with the recording and a bit more about Marigold. I'll probably send you a few emails about that. So any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much. I better go and get my kids. I'm going to be late. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Trudy. See you later.